All right, let's talk about shortcuts for a second here. There are a ton of default shortcuts in Revit, and those can be found on the link that was included in Canvas. Also, here's the website here. Um, so this is a great reference here for the defaults that are set up. You can kind of jump to different sections here, like the architecture tab is one that we use a lot. So you can see all the default settings that are in here. And I mean, I think these are great and a great starting point, but I will say that I customize all my shortcuts especially for the tools and the commands that I use often. So a lot of stuff from the architecture tab and from the modify tab, I have shortcuts for. So you do have the ability to personalize those shortcuts. I also highly recommend creating shortcuts that I like to have shortcuts that are predominantly only for my left hand. That way I don't have to reach all the way across the keyboard from like a CP for copy, right? I might just do like a double C or one C, depending on what it is. Even just going back to like a modify, selecting a key that gets you out of a command quickly, similar to what Adobe does, that can be really useful. So it's up to your discretion on what you would like to do with that, but those are just some recommendations for me. As I like to keep it on the left side of the keyboard, all for my left hand to do as much as possible, so I can be working with the mouse on the right hand and shortcuts on the left. So to customize them, go to File and Options, and then you're going to go to User Interface, and then right here, Keyboard Shortcuts, and you customize that. So you can look for a command that you want to adjust. So align is one that I think that is good to, one that I would change, or dimension. The line dimension is definitely one. So if the shortcut for that is DI. So instead of that, if I want to just add that to be DD, I can say assign. That leaves it as both. I can also remove that other one if I only want it to be one shortcut. I think for modify, that is one for me that I put that to just V. So that was something that I was used to, and you might have shortcuts from AutoCAD, from InDesign, from other programs that you're familiar with that you want to assign. Just what works for you, you can customize those and add those in here. Once you're done, once you say OK, it's going to keep those settings here for your Revit version and Revit program that you're in. But if you have Revit on another computer down the line, or if you end up with different versions of Revit, which is really common. I work in probably 3 to 4 different versions of Revit based on which projects they were in and they were started in. So there's even some still from Revit 2020, but definitely 22, 23, 24. I'm in, regularly on those different versions. So I always make sure that once I have my keyboards, my shortcuts set, I export this. You can export a file for it, and then I have that accessible to me to readily update, or even if I'm working on someone else's computer for the day, I'll still take that with me because I'm so used to those shortcuts. So you only have to do it once, then just export that file and save it. And then if you need it for another computer, you can import your shortcuts so you don't have to redo all of them again. And that's it on shortcuts.